Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here today and attending this webinar. We're going to talk about recruitment and hiring employees as a French company in France. Speakers, Elizabeth Maury, myself, partner and chartered accountant. I'm one of the 3 partners within Orcom International in La Défense. I will introduce Orcom accounting and auditing firm. Géry Delmar, Managing Director at Active Forces, will emphasize on insight for attracting, recruiting, and hiring employees as a French company in France. Charlotte de Guigné, Manager Labor Law Department at Orcom International, will talk about key legal points. First of all, let's have a quick overview about Orcom accounting and auditing firm and some key dates. Orcom was created by Michel Martin in 1979 in Orléans, Centre Val de Loire in France. Michel Martin is still involved in the growth of his business. He's still in activity to date. 1995, Orcom has been committed to a quality approach, which has resulted in obtaining ISO 9001 certification in all versions. 2005, Orcom became a member of the Eurus Alliance. Alliance Eurus is the first leading group of independent accountants, auditing and consulting firms in France. 2014-2015, Orcom set up skill centers by sector of activity, auditing, human resources, public sector, social and medical social, international training, mid-sized companies, etc. Active Forces human resources, and Stratorial local finance. In 2017-2018, international expansion. Orcom set up in USA, in China, and in London with S3P. Another year of international growth, 2021. In USA, first of all, Orcom expanded to Miami and Los Angeles and created the Orcom US brand for all American sites, while in England, Orcom acquired Civils firm and became Orcom Civils. 2023, Orcom decided to diversify its activities once again and acquired Financière Pan Privé, a company specialized in private equity. Since that date, Orcom has continued to integrate firms in order to strengthen its territorial network. Some key dates: 1,400 employees, 80 partners, 50 sites in France, mainly distributed in the center and the west of France, 24,000 customers, 140 million euros in revenue. Let's have a quick overview of the location of our national offices. As you can see on the map, Orcom is mainly located in the northwest of France, Centre Val de Loire, Paris and region, Brittany, Occitanie, and Grand Est. Active Forces is located in both Centre Val de Loire and Paris. Our overseas locations: in USA, 60 consultants, 5 locations between New York, Miami, Boston, Los Angeles, and San Francisco. In England, 30 consultants. Orcom is located in London, next to Marble Arch. In China, 70 consultants, 5 locations, Hong Kong to Shanghai, Beijing, Guangzhou, and Singapore. Let's focus on our alliances. First of all, Win Globally. Orcom is a member of Win Globally Global Network, an association that has existed for more than 20 years. More particularly, this association aims to bring together accounting and independent consulting firms from different countries so that they can exchange know-how, provide mutual assistance, and recommend clients to each other. These networks bring together plus 2,000 professionals, mainly in Europe, Asia, North and South America. Alliance Eurus In 2016, Allcom strengthened its presence on the national territory by becoming a member of Eurus Alliance, first group of independent firms and accountants, auditing and consulting companies in France. BKR International. Finally, Allcom is also a member of BKR Association, which brings together 150 independent firms and thus covers 300 cities in 70 countries. BKR International is an exclusive association of independent accounting and advisory firms founded on the 3 pillars: business, knowledge, and relationships. I'm going to talk about Allcom's trademark, our approach 360 degrees. What does this mean? A structured offer. Like a wheel, as you can see, we can provide to our clients a structured offer ranging from accounting and auditing, human resources, consulting, corporate law consulting, tax consulting, but also payroll and labor law consulting, financial advisory, and finally, wealth and private management. Active Forces firm is mainly focused on recruitment and direct approach, audit consulting and coaching, supporting careers and transitions, training. Now, I pass the floor to Géry Delmar, General Manager and Training Manager at Active Forces. Géry will introduce Active Forces and mainly focus on human resources and consulting services. Then, Charlotte de Guigné, Manager of our International Labour Law Department, will emphasize on key legal points when hiring and onboarding new employees. Charlotte and Géry work closely together on these related and complementary activities.
My turn. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Elizabeth, for this introduction of Allcom. I am Géry Delmar. I am the Managing Director of Active Force since 2020. I've been in consulting since 1998, working in several firms, recruitment firms like Michael Page, Randstad, or Liège Harrison in France. And first of all, a few words on who we are at Active Force and what is our job. And I will focus especially on one of our expertise, which has been presented to you. And this expertise is direct approach, especially headhunting. Maybe for you, it's important to know what are the main differences between headhunting and regular recruitment firm. Headhunting versus traditional recruitment agency is that we act at Active Force as headhunters, specializing in sourcing and attracting top-tier talents for key roles in companies. The headhunting approach is different from the typical recruitment. Instead of posting job ads and waiting for applications to come, we proactively reach out to our candidates, particularly those who are not actively seeking new roles, but may be open to the right opportunity. We therefore source candidates through extensive networking, industry knowledge, and a direct approach. This allows us to attract the best passive talents who might not respond to a job post, but are ideal for your organization. So, of course, today the subject is how to recruit as a foreign company in France. And maybe the first thing to know and to have a closer look at is the specific and critical aspects of the French staffing market and how foreign companies can successfully navigate the recruitment process here in France. As a foreign company entering the French labor market, it can feel both exciting and challenging. The landscape in France is unique, and while France is one of Europe's largest staffing markets, it's the second only to the UK. It requires a nuanced approach to recruit the right talent efficiently and legally. For that, you must try to understand the French staffing market, and within a few minutes, try to put it in a nutshell for you. To begin with, let's talk about the current state of the market in France. Despite its rich pool of talent, it continues to experience what we call at Actiforce a paradox. The paradox is the following. While the country desperately needs more workers, particularly in key sectors such as tech, healthcare, and professional services, the unemployment rate in France remains very high. Currently, in 2024, we are seeing an unemployment rate of 7.4%, which is lower than in previous years in France, but is still very much above the OECD average in Europe of 4.9%. This figure is expected to rise at 8% in 2025 due to the European and French slowing economy. What this means for you as a French company is that there is both opportunity and, of course, competition regarding the candidates. While there is a strong need for skilled labor, especially in white-collar sectors, it can be tough to align the right talent with the right roles. Moreover, the hiring process here can be very stringent and involves a number of legal and cultural considerations that Charlotte will present to you just after my intervention. Of course, we are in a fast HR moving environment, and it's a phenomenon which is worldwide. But of course, radical changes are also occurring in France. And I will not today go into details, but just underline a few deep general HR trends in France that are employee benefits, remote work, Gen Z, turnover, burnout phenomenon, and well-being at work. Those subjects has to be kept in mind while launching a recruitment project in France. What are the recruitment trends in 2024 and beyond? On this slide, you have an historical line beginning with 2020 deep slowing down linked to the COVID crisis, but just after a big rise with a peak reached in 2022, which was a record year in hiring. But now the economic slowdown, you can see that the line is going a little bit down because companies are more conservative in their hiring strategies in France, and employers are focusing on doing more with fewer resources, which means they are looking for efficiency and cost saving in their recruitment processes. Another thing important to know about hiring in France is that we are impacted by seasonality. There are noticeable spikes in hiring during certain periods of the year, particularly, as you can see on the slide, December and January, which is when many companies begin planning for the year ahead and hire new talent during this period. You've got the March-April period as budgets are confirmed. Companies typically ramp up hiring in these months. And you've got June, July, and September, October, which are holidays periods, which are traditionally busy times for recruitment, as companies aim to fill positions before summer break and for the return to work in September. On this slide, I'm showing you an overall map of France with in red and blue the dynamic in percentage of the recruitment. And you will notice that the main dynamic region are not the Paris region, which could be expected to be greatly dynamic, but region in the west of France and mainly in the south of France, Mediterranean south and Alps. I'm showing you this because it can be very important for you in your recruitment process to choose the right region where the most candidates wants to go. Of course, in large French cities, companies are competing more aggressively, not just on salary, but on benefits and work flexibility. Today, employees expect more benefits like comprehensive health insurance, additional paid leaves, meal vouchers, remote work options, and more. You can lower those perks if you go and recruit in another region, the most attractive region, as you have seen on the precedent slide. Now let's talk about the most in-demand jobs and the fastest growing jobs. For the most in-demand jobs in France, and you can see that our companies are looking for sales, mainly for sales professionals, project managers, and IT specialists. If we look at now the fastest growing jobs, here you can find that there is a new kind of profile looked for actively and growing very fast. It's the sustainability manager, what we call RSE in France. You find again the commercial and sales representatives, and again you find the IT specialists. And now, if we look at the job offers and their share of job offers per function, we see that in content or types, there are record demands in engineering job offers, operations and management roles, sales again, and IT again, which are very looked for in the job offer. So what basic tips can we give you as foreign companies? What can we recommend to you? And I have picked up 5 main best practices. The first one is, first of all, build a strong employer brand. A strong employer brand is essential in France, especially if your company is relatively unknown here. Candidates want to work for companies they believe in. You need to communicate your values, your mission, and your long-term vision clearly. Sharing success stories, employees' testimonials, and your company culture through social media and other channels can be highly effective. IT4C can help you as being a well-known label and help you communicate for you as a foreign company, because our label IT4C is well known. Second, offer competitive benefits. In France, it's not just about salary. I've talked just previously about regional place of work, but candidates expect a comprehensive benefits package, which often includes health insurances, additional paid leave, meal voucher, and transportation benefits like the sustainable mobility package, for example, with electric bikes or electric cars. These perks can sometimes make or break a candidate's decisions to accept your offer. IT4C offers for each recruitment a salary benchmarks in order for a foreign company to choose the right range for its recruitment project. Third, be flexible with work arrangements. Since the pandemic, flexible work arrangements have become a necessity for many French workers. Offering remote or hybrid working options can be a huge selling point, especially for talents in large cities where commuting can be time-consuming. Many employees are seeking a work-life balance in France that remote work can offer. Charlotte will talk about it just after me. Fourth, be proactive and responsive. In today's competitive market, it's important to act fast, respond to the candidates' inquiries quickly, and once you have identified strong candidates, make sure your interview and offer processes are efficient. Any delays could mean losing top talent to a competitor. Disponibility and reactivity are key in the recruitment process in France, and there again, IT4C consultants can help you with that. And last, focus on long-term career development. Another key factor for attracting French talent is career development. Candidates want to know what they have as future in your company, what kind of growth opportunities they will have within the company they are applying to. Offering training programs, upskilling, and clear path of advancement will make your company more attractive. Just a few words about IA, because it's a must to have, I think, today. And it can be, again, a perks in your job offer that can attract candidates. Why? Because IA is the new line of competencies that you must absolutely have in your job offer, whatever economic sector you are in. In France, like in worldwide, it represents a key areas of growth, is particularly in tech and IE related roles. In fact, there has been 21 times more increase in job posting mentioning IE skills, such as ChatGPT in France. Again, a foreign company can use IE to demark itself from its competitors and attracts candidates in their job offer and in their job proposal. In summary, recruiting in France as a foreign company requires careful planning, a clear strategy, and attention to both legal and cultural factors. By working with special firms like Actiforce, you can gain access to top talent and navigate the complexities of the French staffing market more effectively. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to answering any questions you may have. I pass it on to Charlotte.
Well, thank you very much, Jerry, and good morning, everybody. I'm Charlotte de Guigné. I'm a French labor law manager at Orcom for 9 years now, and I'm very happy to perform this webinar with you today. Here, we are going to see the legal aspects you should anticipate or consider when you are going to hire an employee in France. So, first of all, to succeed in your hiring in France, you should anticipate different topics and keep in mind some steps. First of all, you have to assess your recruitment need. Then you need to decide where and how to hire your employee and think of the company's legal setup. You need to be informed on French labor rules and anticipate administrative formalities. Then you can start your recruitment, select your employee, decide and agree on terms and conditions, and finally, hire the employee and start the contract. First of all, as a foreign entity, it is really crucial that you determine the entity that will be hiring the employee. Here in France, we are facing three main situations. First of all, you can create a representative office, which is mainly used to evaluate the French market before going for full commercial activity and conduct marketing and other non-transactional operations. This form is not to be used for actual business, but it needs to be registered with local government. Second option, you can decide to create what we call a branch, which is an extension of an existing company. The branch is different from the parent company. And last, you can decide to create a subsidiary, which is an independent and autonomous legal entity. Choosing one of those schemes depends on your needs, and of course, it will have consequences from a legal and tax point of view. So we really advise you to ask your counsel or your accountant about what would be the best option for you. Here at Orcom, Elizabeth's team can assist you on this and provide you with accurate advice. Anyway, in any case, your company will be registered and be given what we call a SIRET and NAF code according to its activity, and that will help to determine from a French legal labor law point of view a possible collective bargaining agreement to apply. But we'll be back to that point later on. So first, from an administrative point of view, when you hire an employee, it implies a certain number of steps, as you can see on this slide. First of all, the work permit. It means that prior to hiring, if the employee is of non-European nationality, you must check if he is allowed to work in France. He should have the right work permit corresponding to his situation. You should know that different procedures can apply. So before actually hiring the employee, this step should be anticipated at the stage of recruitment, because obtaining or renewing a work permit in France can take time. So this has to be anticipated. Also, penalties can be incurred if you hire an employee without authorization. So be very careful with this step. Then the occupational medicine. The company has to be affiliated with an occupational health and prevention service to get an appointment for the new employee to the information and prevention visit. This first visit has to be done within 3 months from the hiring. Regarding the Social Security registration process, in France, employees hired to work should have a Social Security number, as they should contribute and benefit from the French General Social Security Scheme. If he doesn't have a Social Security number, as an employer, you should ask him to get in touch with his CPAM center, and in addition, you'll have to do the pre-employment registration. The pre-employment registration process must be done in order to give your employee access to all of his entitlements, including Social Security system, and for you to meet the requirements and thereby avoid any punitive measures, particularly those that are related to undeclared work. Then you have to set up French public health care additional insurance for health and life and disability. In France, the public health care, the Sécurité sociale, determines basic fees for health treatment and it reimburses part of it. In addition, as an employer, you have to set up a supplementary health insurance in order to top up the Social Security basic guarantees. This is an obligation and you need to support at the very least 50% of the premium. And the other 50% is supported by the employee. Then the life and disability scheme covers death, prolonged sick leave, and disability risks. It comes in addition to the basic insurance scheme provided by the French Sécurité sociale. Last, payslip and contribution payment. Every month, as an employer, you need to draw up a payslip and pay your employee. In principle, salary payment is made on a monthly basis on the same date once a month. You also need to comply with the Social Security declaration deadlines and pay Social Security contributions, apply and collect the withholding tax on the employee's salary, and pay the corresponding amount to the French tax authorities. Then, let's have a look to the main French labor law sources. At the very top, you can see on this slide the rules that are called public order rules. They are mandatory rules and they can't be disregarded because they meet fundamental requirements or overriding interests. So, all subsequent texts shall abide by the minimum requirements stated by those rules or provide for more favorable rules. Then there are CBAs. CBAs are collective bargaining agreements. They are negotiated by unions representing employers and employees from the same national industry sector. Each collective bargaining agreement defines its professional and territorial scope of application, and companies falling under its scope have to apply it. It adapts the rules of the French Labour Code, taking into account specificity of the activity sector. For instance, regarding the trial period, the notice period, the job classifications, the salary, bonus, leave, termination rules, etc. Its provision can also be more favorable than the French Labour Code and even contain provisions that the French Labour Code does not provide. In addition, your company can also negotiate internal company agreements on specific topics such as work duration, overtime compensation, etc. It gives you more flexibility to make your own rule in your company. Last, The employment contract will rule the specific individual relationship between the employer and the employee, and we'll focus on this just after. When recruiting, it is crucial that you have assessed the mission and its duration to know what type of contract you are going to propose to your employee. In France, the writing of the employment contract and applicable rules will depend on the type of contract you'll sign. Here, you can see the main types of contracts, but we are going to focus more on permanent and fixed-term contracts, which are more standard in France. First, you can see apprenticeship contracts that can allow you to benefit from public financial support. You also have temporary contracts, which are interim contracts. Then permanent contracts that are open-ended contracts. It means that after the trial period, which is optional, the end of the contract is not known in advance, and the contract will end on the sole decision of the employer or the employee. For instance, in case of dismissal, resignation, amicable termination, or retirement. And last, you have the fixed-term contract that can be renewed twice and concluded for a maximum period of 18 months. It can be used only in very limited situations, such as to replace an absent employee, face a temporary and exceptional increase in activity, or for season work. The end of fixed-term contracts can be anticipated in very limited cases, such as case of agreement by the parties at the employee's request, if it justifies being hired under a permanent contract elsewhere, severe misconduct, major force, or unfitness. Unlike fixed-term contracts that must be written and gather specific mandatory information, permanent contracts are not necessarily written ones, but it's highly advised to do so in order to secure your relationship with your employee. In principle, contracts written and signed in France should be written in French, otherwise you will not be able to avail against the employee clauses written in another language. So once again, to secure the relationship, you should write your contract in French. This obligation also applies to any document that can create obligations for the employee or to any document that is necessary for the performance of his work, for instance, documents providing with targets. It's important to highlight this point because this rule has been recently reminded by case law in June and October 2023 regarding a financial reward plan written in English and documents setting targets for employees receiving flexible salary in a subsidiary of a US company. So, then, here on that slide, you have a sample of the most important rules to know and to be taken into account when you consider the employment term and conditions. First of all, work duration. This is a very important topic in France. In France, the maximum standard number of working hours is 35 hours per week. The week is counted from Monday 0 hour to Sunday midnight. This statutory limit may be exceeded in limited situations. Any hour that would be worked over the statutory weekly limit is considered as overtime, which entitles the employee to a wage supplement or, where applicable, an equivalent compensatory rest period. The payment for overtime is supplemented 25% for the first 8 hours over the statutory working time, so between the 36th and the 43rd hour of work, and 50% for hours thereafter, so from the 44th hour of work. However, those are limits to the number of hours beyond which no further there are also limits to the number of hours beyond which no further work may be requested to the employee. There are three main limits. The first one, an employee can't work more than 10 hours per day, 48 hours per week, and 44 hours on average over a period of 12 consecutive weeks. Exemption can be granted, but you need to ask your work inspectorate. Last, after 6 hours of work, the employee is entitled to a minimum rest break of 20 consecutive minutes. Regarding the salary, the employee must be paid at the very least the minimum legal wage, which is called the SMIC, or the minimum wage provided for by your collective bargaining agreement with regard to the employee's classification and status. It's also important to be consistent when determining the employee's salary with regard to the other employees of the French entity in order to be compliant with a more general principle, which is the principle of equality of treatment, that implies that employees in the same or very similar position should be treated on an equal footing unless objective reasons can justify a difference. It's important to identify the employee statutes as it will have an impact on the terms and conditions. It will also determine his position in the organization with regard to other employees and the hierarchy. The type of work duration he will be eligible to will also depend on his statutes and eventually specific clauses you would like to include in the contract. It will also have an impact on the guarantees regarding health and life insurances. Referring to what we said at the beginning, if the employee is to work in France, it's important as a foreign company to consider the question of work location, as it may involve topics such as immigration, legal contribution, tax, social security, and also practicalities, for example, if your employee needs to move, etc., etc. Here, as the topic is very large, we are only going to focus on remote work from France. Hiring an employee remotely can be a good option not only when the company has no premises in France, but also when you have identified a candidate who lives far from the company's location. Remote work can be full or partial, and here there are some key points to consider when hiring remotely an employee. We would advise you to anticipate and work on your management strategy, because the remote worker has to benefit from the exact same rights as on-site employees, for instance, regarding lunch and vouchers. You must do an accurate follow-up of the employee's workload. You must deal with and prevent isolation. The employee has the right to disconnect and have yearly meeting with you. You also should know that there are some requirements in France. Remote work should be implemented in priority via collective agreement or a charter, or secondly, by agreement between the employer and the employee. If the company doesn't provide for premises, you also have to pay what we call a suggestion allowance in order to compensate the use of the employee's home space for professional purposes. For instance, this is the case when the employee is required to store things for the company. Last, I wanted to give you some example of a non-limitative list of tips to include in your package to attract or to keep your employees. I'm not going to read them all because you can see it's quite a list, but I can quote some, for instance. You can subscribe a favorable health and life insurance scheme to offer higher guarantees or support a higher rate of contribution. This can be quite incentive in a package. You can also negotiate additional paid leave. This would be an internal negotiation. For instance, you can set up additional rest days for seniority. This is something we do more and more often in France. You can set up a profit sharing scheme. In France, we have two types of schemes, intéressement or voluntary participation. And you can also provide for more favorable overtime compensation. To do so, you can negotiate a company agreement to increase the compensation rate for overtime. As we saw previously, the minimum rate is 25% per hour of overtime. You can provide for a more favorable rate. Of course, we can assist you on all those points. So I hope you enjoyed our presentation. We had a lot of things to say. We hope we have provided you with some useful tips and guidance for hiring and starting your employment relationship in France. As recruiting and hiring employees in a foreign country like ours, we know it can be challenging for you. So of course, feel free to contact us, sorry, if you need so, and we'll be very happy to assist you.
Thank you, Charlotte. Thank you, Jerry. Thank you, everyone, for your attention to this presentation. If you have any question and you need to contact us, you will see our details, email address, and phone number on the slides. You can contact us at any time you want. Thank you very much and have a good day.